So I'll do a brief introduction to Mary. Mary and I both work in a high school. She teaches statistics, I teach chemistry, but Mary actually uses songs in her classroom every single day. She actually also has a degree in vocal arts. So I think she's gonna show you two different things. Good to see you, Mary.
Hi there, I'm excited to be here. Am I live and going?
You are good to go. We can see you and hear you.
Perfect. All right, well then what happened, what originally initiated my presentation is that I was asked to maybe make a short little video of how I made the songs and brought them to life with a video, because I think that makes a really big difference with how my students are able to then apply it to their learning, because they can reference them and they're out there all the time. I have a playlist, so I've had the students listen to them in their car and while they're studying for the AP test or whatever. So what I had done then was I made two little video clips. Well, they're 15 minutes each, and one of them is on how to make the song using the music program Audacity. And so, you know, what I have seen on this clip or on the program so far is that it seems like people already kind of have their method of how they are bringing in their music and such. But you know, here's one that maybe I can then use this also with my students, because I want to start having them be able to make this on their own. And so I thought, okay, well then I'm going to have this made for them as well. So the first video talks about how you get your karaoke version of the song that you're going to do a parody on, and then you import the song into that free software Audacity. Now, if you have a limited computer as far as what you can put on there because of the technology department in your school or whatever your limitations are, then the Audacity worked without having the computer person put anything on my computer, but he did have to put iTunes on there. But anyway, so the first video takes you through cutting the song track to the correct length, because I know we've heard some instances where having a short little jingle is perhaps better in some cases than the full length song. So you can do that, and you can splice that and then add your vocals, export that. And then I made a second 15-minute video, and we'll have those linked here, and they'll be on the Voices website, of actually importing that into iMovie. So while I had used Audacity on my PC, I then go to my iPad. If you have a Mac, then you can do it all there on your Mac, into the iMovie, because then I use pictures that are then meaningful to the content and go along with that. And one key thing that I really like is I can add the text in, so the students are seeing those lyrics as they're singing the songs. And then I upload the finished product to YouTube so that we have access to that and such. So I'm not going to play those videos, but here is there's one, and then the other one is this. And so those again will be on the Voices webpage. Now, what happened was those videos ended up being 15 minutes each, and my total time was 15 minutes. And I thought, plus I thought when people make their own music videos and such, then this is an instructional video in which they'll like watch a little bit of it and then stop it and then work on the computer and do something and then watch a little bit of it and stop it. So I thought that would be something people would more be doing in parallel to making their own video resource. And so I didn't think it was necessarily appropriate to play that instructional video here right now. So instead, I kind of veered off into a different aspect, and I thought, you know, I wanted to show some ways that my students use the videos in the class. Right before our AP exam, we have a karaoke day, and so I'm going to show you a few videos of them doing the karaoke, and then I'm going to talk to you about actually how I use my music in teaching, and I have a video of me teaching the music when I'm summing up a lab in my class. But anyway, here's a couple fun little things that the kids are doing. So here we go. Oh, let me see. Scoot back and let's see if we can't play that.
Interpret the y-intercept. It happens when the x is 0. The predicted y is this. It often does not make sense. Interpret the y-intercept. It happens when the x is 0. The predicted y is this. It often does not make sense. Not make sense.
All right, so that was a fun one. That video actually doesn't have the instructional pictures on it in the background because, you know, when I was making these originally, I got through the middle of the year and I was like, it took too much, so I just threw up one little instructional or one picture with all the words on it because I think that's really important first and foremost. But adding those pictures of what the content is saying is important as well. So this next one is a fun little song that the kids got up and they have a dance. They were making a dance, just having fun going through it. So here, let's watch this one.
If you ask you must choose to use median and IQR. Ooh, symmetry, standard deviation, and mean.
And so you may or may not have noticed, but in the background, that particular video did have the content pictures of what was going on besides the words. And so that's what the iMovie video or instructional video shows you how to do, is have put those in so that when I'm teaching it, then you've got those going on. This is another video that's just fun. Crazy kids, you know, so this was a little talent show that we had at school. And so this was one of the students' so-called talent. So let's listen and see how Connor did that.
Connor wants to pay homage.
The video quality is poor,
teachers.
but you get the idea.
Connor will now perform an AP Statistics inspired rap. Yikes! Is it linear? Listen. Have you got a correlation coefficient? R, illustrate the linearity. R squared is percent of variability. Can you tell from R? No. You don't know. Residual plot. You must check. Look at the residuals to see if there's a pattern. Statistical evidence only with the p-value.
Crazy. And the funny thing is I don't know if you heard it, but like there was a group singing it out loud and chanting it with him when they were in the audience. So so these are kind of the byproducts of having the music in class and learning with the music. And so one of the things that is so interesting to me is why is there this buy-in? Why do the students why do students get it and then just like fall in love with it and embrace it? And so Simon Sinek, I don't know if you've heard of his golden circle, but start with the why and why do you do this and how do you do this and then what do you do? So if you haven't watched the TED Talk on that, it's really interesting as far as the motivation and such. But you know, I feel so strongly about how all kids can learn, and that's my why. And I think what happens is the kids buy into it so much because they see that that passion that I have for them to learn. And yes, that music is that tool. But I think originally, again, like Simon Sinek says, the why, that passion for learning is what I think is shown through that music. But I'm more interested in, and this is something that I don't know how to address this, and I think it's just maybe a process of still learning how to handle this. You know, it's interesting to me how this is such a small little seed of educators that are using this tool in the secondary and beyond. You know, in elementary, it's all over the place. My most viewed video is doing box plots. Well, that's because it's also an elementary curriculum, and so people have been picking it up on that. And so why? So I had put some videos out on a Facebook page, AP statistics page. And I had done that, and then I had also put something for a different lesson that was new to our standards, because those were new this year. And the worksheet that was new to the standards in the curriculum had about 10 times as many comments and thank yous and yada, yada, yada than the little video of the song that went with the current curriculum that was being taught at that time. I thought, well, if I kind of put these little snippets out there whenever it's in the time of our curriculum that we're doing these songs, then that might be applicable to them. But anyway, so I just don't understand. I mean, it's something that I'm wondering is, and I think that some of the comments, the teachers were doubting the usefulness of it, in that it was just a memorization tool. And so I think that's a misconception, is, you know, I believe in my content and that the students can learn, and that I teach the why part of the curriculum first and foremost, and then that music is that icing on the cake to solidify those concepts and pull them all together. And so if I have time, I wanted to show this little, it's 5 minutes, so I may have to kind of jump ahead, but this is showing me actually teaching in class, wrapping up a lab, and then walking them through the song that goes with that content. So
Mary,
Tiffany,
you can show it. You're good to go.
Okay.
We have like a break after this, so it's okay if we run over. But one of the questions that you have before this, it says, number one is, do you find that non-musical students drop out, or do you actually convince them in a way?
Oh, well, see, okay, so the fact that I have my son in my class, you know, if you saw earlier, now I can't get back to having my song in my class, that right there, I think, tells you that you have those ones that don't like it or that don't buy into it, but yet he deals with it. He handles it. He sits there while it's going on or whatever. And, but yet, you know, and so he just kind of appeases me by listening. And then in the hind end of things, then admits later that, yes, it is helpful. And he's just listening to it, you know, in a non-interested way, but yet it actually helps him. So I think that happens more so than with the ones that don't seem initially interested.
Yeah, and Greg actually says that a lot of teachers do think it's just for memorization, which is, you know, a big misconception. I might add that other people think, to the extent that essentially, well, that's great, but I can never do that. Like, I'm not you, you know, I don't have the vocals that you have, but like my personality actually carries it through, and it's amazing the reaction. I mean, I can't sing a lick, and it seems to work.
Absolutely. And so like this right here was the instructional video that I put out on the Facebook, so that even the teachers could see the way that I introduce the concept with the activity. And then, you know, the comments that I got from this was, what activity did you use?
Oh,
I know. So it's so interesting. And that is just an enigma that I cannot handle. But let me show you how I tie all those different concepts together with the song. So here we go.
What helps us choose? Why do we choose a particular trait to block by? What's the purpose behind a particular trait to choose?
We had just finished an activity in a lab.
One which does what?
Organize variables.
Very good. The one, whichever trait most affects what we are measuring, the result we are measuring. Okay. So block by the trait that most affects what we are measuring. Okay, to control that. But then here's the other thing. What happened here that we said, what was going on with our ranges? What did we find blocking by breed significantly did with our results? It reduced the variability of it, reduced the variation. Very good. By a huge amount, from 9 to whatever this one was. Okay, so our blocking reduced that variation and blocked by the trait that affects the results. All right, so there's our conclusion of that lab. But I want to tie into something that we've done in the past to kind of make sure we don't mix them up, okay? So in the past we talked about randomization, and so why do we randomize? There you go, we're going to randomize to reduce bias, okay? So we want to have a clear-cut knowledge and understanding from the lab of why we block. We block to do what? What did this account for? Blocking to do what? Reduce variation. Nice. So we're going to block to reduce variation. Good vibrations. See the connection there? Okay, so let's talk through our blocking process. So here we go. And I'll kind of stop you and kind of walk you through some important facts as we go through this.
I see you have a trait there that may affect the way subjects respond.
Isn't that one of the main things we just said? That was the other main thing. I'm going to block by the trait that I think most affects the bone density loss, what we're responding, what our response is. Okay, trait that most affects what we respond. So that's how we chose that.
I see you have a trait there that may affect the way subjects respond. What do you do? Take homogeneous groups. What do you do? Take homogeneous groups. Blocking reduces variation. Blocking reduces variation.
Okay, now, let's take a look at this for a second. We've seen this format of experiments, okay? So I want you to look at this experiment and see what you think the response that we are measuring is. Okay, think in your minds from this picture, what response are we measuring? Okay, so what do you come up with?
And I'm sure that we're kind of running out of time here. So I wanted to, I'll stop that. But anyway, it'll be on the presentation. And so through that, the kids then come up with, and they see, so you can see the instructional component in the video. And so I hope that you can see how it was presented and how the videos play a really big part of the instruction in my class. They're not just fun little music thing. They are an understanding of how and why and what it is the fundamentally that we do.
Yeah, Mary, Dennis actually wrote a really good comment, which I agree with, that it says that you don't just use it unconnected, but instead it's actually an integrated part of your lesson. And you and I had kind of talked about that, the difference between a short piece versus a long piece. So
yes,
a lot of times, like a long piece is like, kids don't understand it until they have a huge amount of knowledge. And they often, even if it's really cleverly written from a instructor's perspective, they oftentimes don't catch the cleverness that you as the instructor are creating in that song. And so there's something to be said, I think personally, with these short little things that make it interactive almost every day. And you also said that, like, by memorizing that statement, that it frees their brain to really work at the higher ordered thinking processes. And I thought you might want to talk for a minute just about that conversation that you and I had. That was pretty interesting.
absolutely, yes. And I feel very passionately about that my course is so language oriented, and that's interesting for a math class. But, you know, I get that, like with the biologies and such, you have so much of the language. And you can't talk freely the language until you really like understand the vocabulary and understand the words and what they are meaning. So now, through this situation, for example, here, I'm talking about variation and variability and controlling and all these different things that we can now have discussions about, and the kids can use that academic language because they understand it. And so now they're free to experience that on a higher level and now start applying it to all the different aspects that we do in every other part, and then they understand it better.
Yeah, and that's actually something interesting. About a year ago, I didn't think that. And then as I've thought it through this year after meeting you, I really genuinely believe that from an instructor's perspective, that just that it almost frees their brain to, once they have the saying memorized, they can really think about, they have that statement memorized, but then they learn the meaning behind it as they continue on. So I think that's actually a really valuable lesson.
Yes. And the thing I want to get across to the doubting teachers and that doubting educators is that it's not fun. I mean, it's not just for fun. That's why I thought this video was important to show, because you see, it was the core of the instruction, or tying it all together. And so that's what I want teachers to know and educators to know, is that that's the purpose behind it, and the kids understand much better with it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Mary, as always, thanks for joining us and being part of our cause. I might put you up for that rap battle.
I know.
Yeah, that actually might be a pretty good publicity thing for us. So
definitely, I'm gonna have to work on that.
All right, mine's pretty good.
Oh man, and I haven't even started, so I'm behind the game. But I have those instructional videos that I made for this that I can give to my students to help them make them. So there you go.
Well, actually, that might be a good rap battle too, is having the students create them too.
Yes.
I think that's decent. That's decent.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Maybe we could get some official panel judges from the Voices Committee.
Oh, I bet we could. Don't add that. That's going to make it even more competitive. Or
we'll need some chemists and some also. Oh, we have thanks from Australia. So maybe we could get some statistics people, chemistry people, and really duke it out there.
Yep, we can have a worldwide panel.
There you go.